All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 21st. I can't believe that. Fairfield Cares Community Coalition meeting. I'm Kristen McCarthy, our co-chair, and I'd like to call our meeting to order. And I have a little feedback. I don't know if you're not muted, if you're able to mute, maybe that would help. Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Better. All right. Wonderful. We'll start as we traditionally do with a speed round of introductions, just your name and where you're from. And we're really happy to see folks joining us, and welcome back to the folks who have been here. It's great to have you. So we'll start with Riney, then Phil, then Kathy.
Hi, I'm Riney Noor. I am programming volunteer and social media volunteer for Fairfield Cares for almost grown children in town. The youngest is a senior in high school, and I'm very passionate about all the topics we discuss in Fairfield Cares.
Great. Phil, you're muted.
Phil Dwyer, a 10-year member of Fairfield Cares, former board member in Journal All Around Has Been. Grandfather to two.
Kathy, then Bernadette.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Kathy Hazlett, working for Positive Directions as our wonderful fiscal agent, and I am the coalition coordinator.
Thanks, Kathy. Bernadette, then Victoria, then Wendy.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Capola. I'm the treasurer for Fairfield Cares. I'm a parent of two, well, actually one's out of college and one will be graduating soon, but longtime Fairfield resident.
I'm Victoria. I'm an AmeriCorps member serving with the Hub, so I'm here on behalf of the Hub today.
Thanks, Wendy, then Tim.
Good morning, Wendy Bentavegna, longtime one of the founding members of Fairfield Cares. I'm resident in Fairfield, parent of two children who are out of the house and self-sufficient somewhat, and happy to be here. Still passionate about the causes. Happy to still be involved.
Thank you, Tim. Then Steve Baker.
Tim Morris, student assistant counselor, Ludlow High School.
Thanks, Tim. Steve and Carrie.
Steve Baker, President PTA Council.
And I'm Carrie Ostrom, the Chief Behavioral Health Officer for LifeBridge.
Thanks, Carrie. Pam, then Lenora.
Good morning. My name is Pam Walker. I'm the student assistant counselor at Fairfield Ward High School.
Thanks, Pam. Lenora, then Corinne.
Good morning, Lenore Campbell, parent, two children went through the system. I'm the secretary for Fairfield Cares, and happy to be here.
Thanks. Corinne and Mary.
Hi, good morning. I'm Corinne. I am from Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. I am a parent of two, and I'm also a member of the Fairfield County 4-H.
Thank you. Mary Frances, then Kelsey.
Hi, sorry, just having some problem with my camera this morning, but I'm Mary Frances DeSteno. I'm a nurse practitioner who asked to talk today to the group. I mainly deal actually with senior citizens, but the other half of my life, I work in a clinic, and I've worked in clinics for years, and I have two children. One is at Ludlow Middle, one's at Ludlow High School. So thank you for letting me present today.
Yes, welcome. It's great to have you. Thank you for being with us. Kelsey and then Allison.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelsey Terleglio. I'm here on behalf of High Focus Centers in Norwalk. We are a mental health and substance abuse outpatient program for adolescents serving Fairfield County. So always a pleasure to join these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Allison and then Diana.
Hi, I'm Allison Cial. I'm a social worker for the town of Fairfield at Fairfield Social Services. And I have a daughter at McKinley and a son who will be there in September.
Thanks, Allison. Diana.
Hi, it's Diana. I'm the Executive Director for the Fairfield YMCA. I'm happy to be here and I'm loving technology because I'm calling you from Oxford, Mississippi right now.
That's wonderful. And then last but not least, we're very, very fortunate to have our Superintendent of Schools, Mike Cummings, as our co-chair. Mr. Cummings.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Cummings, Superintendent. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. We have the approval of the minutes, which the draft minutes have been posted in the chat. They were sent out previous to our meeting. And I am wondering if you have a motion to approve the minutes. I see Tim Morris giving a thumbs up with a motion for approval. Is there a second for the motion? And Pam, thank you. See, our school partners, you two are the best. Pam Walker, is there discussion? Seeing and hearing no discussion, is there any objection to our minutes? Nope, seeing and hearing none, our minutes are approved. Next, we have a co-chair update, and I will turn first to Mr. Cummings.
Thank you. I don't really have much of an update. I will tell you, obviously it's very busy, but related to our work today, I'm very interested in hearing the presentation. So that's all I've got for today.
Wonderful. I will say that there's been a lot of work that's being done on our drug-free communities grant application, our bylaws, our advocacy policies, all of which are on the agenda today. And that we continue to have lots of other conversations around us that impact the work that we're doing related to how we deal with wellness and mental health as we emerge from the pandemic. And as always, I am grateful for the opportunity to wear the hat of State Rep 2 and have the experience from this group to bring that to some of the conversations that are happening at the state level related both to substances, wellness promotion, suicide prevention, and more. So there's a lot of work ahead for us, not just the bureaucratic work of some of the things we'll talk about today, but the work of being present and supporting our young people. So with that, we'll turn to agenda item number 4, which is our advocacy policy and process. This has been a conversation that we've had. A few folks have been working on this outside of our main meetings, and today we'll begin a discussion so that we can move forward on something more clearly articulated for all of us to be able to engage in a different way. With that, I will turn it over to Kathy.
All righty, I'm gonna share my screen so I can bring up the advocacy policy process. So my apologies, everybody. I should have sent this out with the agenda. You got this last night, and if you hadn't had a chance to take a look at it, it's completely understandable. Let's see, I'm trying to, there we go. So this came from the fact that as a coalition is growing and developing. And as a lot of coalitions do, they advocate, we definitely educate quite a bit around substance use, misuse. And it was just felt it was time to have a policy to provide some structure for our advocacy activities, with the possibility that we may at some point want to develop an ad hoc committee to address potential topics that might be coming up in Hartford or in Washington, to take a position on those topics. And it was important for folks to understand the difference between lobbying, advocacy, and education. And we went over that at the last meeting, sort of understanding the difference, but it's outlined here in this policy. So it's clearly understood. Basically, the coalition acts as a nonprofit organization. We receive grant funding through our fiscal managers, and more times than not, all of those grants prohibit lobbying. You can't use grant funds to lobby. And lobbying specifically is addressing a specific piece of legislation, telling a legislator, how you want them to vote on, behalf of the coalition. That's something we can't do. We don't want to do. We can advocate, however. And so just very quickly going over this, the advocating is talking about the topic. We don't mention a specific bill or piece of legislation, but we can certainly talk to legislators or government officials about topics and our views on those topics. I should say that this policy doesn't preclude anyone as an individual to testify in Hartford, as long as you are clear about representing yourself and not representing the coalition. That's all that we ask of our members. And then educating is by far what we do most. And that is probably the crux of our mission as well, is to provide information to the community at large, to youth, to parents around substances, so that we can prevent and reduce the percentage of youth who are partaking of substance use. So we gave this some thought in terms of a process, and we outlined, I'm just gonna go through this very quickly. So here is our policy process that we've drafted, and the leadership has taken a look, and we'd like the coalition membership to bless it, basically. So Fairfield Cares, as a youth and young adult substance prevention coalition, considers it important to advocate and educate on issues that directly pertain to the coalition's mission, e.g. substance use and mental health wellness. To determine the advocacy and education position that Fairfield Cares will take on a given issue, the following process should be followed. At the June meeting, coalition members will be invited to brainstorm on possible advocacy and education issues for the next fiscal year. So looking ahead. And then we will ask, and I apologize, the saws have started outside. I hope you cannot hear those. We will ask a group of coalition members who are interested in working on these issues to come together and draft the advocacy and education policy statements on behalf of the coalition. The leadership then would review those draft statements, policy statements, and the revisions will be made. And then the coalition will discuss those policy statements, and eventually it will be agreed upon. So those are a quick review of the various steps involved. Possible advocacy and education topics we've outlined below. This is not precluding the addition of other topics, but we just thought it was important to include some examples. So obviously use of and or addiction to substances such as marijuana, alcohol, nicotine, opioids. Gaming, unfortunately, is becoming more of an issue in our society around youth gaming. Suicide prevention is a big part of the work that we do in collaboration with other community organizations. Mental health, social emotional learning, and bullying. And then funding for prevention activities, because we obviously want to be advocating for funding for prevention. Any question or discussion? I'll bring up the policy steps. Any questions or discussion about any of this?
So just as I've mentioned before, and having been a person running lots of Zoom meetings, if especially when we're sharing screens, if you can use the raise your hand function, it's either in the reactions or if you have a not updated version of Zoom in the participant section. And if you can do that, and I can call on folks as they've raised their hands. And I'm not seeing any. I see Pam has clapped. Thank you. Just helped with tracking. Any comments, if not questions?
Yeah, I don't have a wave. I don't have a wave. You know,
Okay.
I don't have a wave in my reaction area. I have clap and this.
Well, and Pam, again, if you click on the participants button on the bottom,
yeah,
there should be an opportunity in there for you to choose raise hand if you have an older version that doesn't have the raise hand. But Pam, did you want to make a comment?
Well, I did. Yeah, I just wanted to add gambling onto that list.
I think that's included in gaming. I think.
Is that included in the gaming? That was my other question.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And certainly it's, as Kathy said, it's not exhaustive, that list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this document available to us?
Phil, I can't see who's talking. I see that Phil has
I'm
his
sorry.
hand raised. Again, it's just because I can't see everyone on the screen. So Phil, and then whoever that is, if you can do me a favor. and you-
Kathy, could you scroll up to where the actual like 4 lines of policy is? Correct. That paragraph that is after the advocacy and policy and process, the entire document is being acted upon, but for the purpose of the bylaws to outline that we will engage in education and advocacy, it's only that paragraph that I put in the bylaws. And the bylaws, that's a placeholder for when this policy actually gets adopted, then any changes to that paragraph will be made changes to the bylaws. But the bylaws are intended to state the overarching agreement, and the policy is meant to outline the detail as Kathy went through. I just wanted to point that out.
And Steve Baker. Thanks, Phil.
Yes, I just was wondering if that was that document was available for us to view. Like if I could click on.
Yeah, I sent it. Check your email, Steve, because you should have received it last night. Because I sent it out to the coalition membership. But if not, I will send it to you. I can do that right now.
And the email came from Kathy as opposed to from the Fairfield
okay.
address.
Yes.
Other comments or questions?
Yeah, I don't see that I got that.
Okay, I can send it again, Steve.
So one thing that I will say, and I appreciate the opportunity to have this, I think it's really important for us. This is an important activity for the coalition to be looking at as we continue to evolve and expand. And it's also important that we're intentional about it for the legitimacy of the organization. I've seen recently some, and I have this opportunity in Hartford plenty to see how sometimes organizations get themselves in a little bit of trouble. Again, with that, we want to make sure that we're intentional about our work. And Kathy, you may have saws, but we have late start on Wednesdays. And so I have children with loud music. So I hope you all are not hearing that. I would also add one thing that and this is the benefit of reviewing a policy and re-reviewing and thinking about it together and individually. We have had an opportunity to talk about how we develop the policies, but not necessarily, and I don't think we necessarily looked as much at how we communicate them and implement them. And I think that's something worth having a little bit more conversation on before we finalize them at our next meeting. I see Phil and Steve, both of you still have your hands up, and I'm not a co-host, so I can't lower your hands like I usually do. I just want to make sure you two are both set before we go on to our next agenda. And Riney, feel free to make me a co-host if that's easier. I also will welcome Lori Mediati, our public health our school curriculum public health person. I am not speaking properly today, but and congratulate you, Lori, on your award for the Fairfield Public Schools for the long-time partnership with Fairfield University. It's really well earned, and we just want to recognize and congratulate you for that.
Thank you, Kristen. And I thank Fairfield Cares, because you were the reason why this partnership happened. Dr. Maggie Wills, back in 2015, joined us at a Fairfield Cares meeting over at the Sullivan site at Town Hall, and said, I'm looking for somebody to partner on an idea that I'm working through on how to have students in their public speaking classes choose topics that are more important to them and could have an impact on others as well, focusing originally on alcohol and other drug use on college campuses. And it has morphed into that, mental health, basic survival skills on campus, dealing with roommates, time management. But it's all because of a Fairfield Cares meeting that this partnership has continued to thrive. And each year, our seniors at Fairfield Public Schools say this is their favorite part of their senior health class. And they love having a chance to meet with the college students who come in to their classroom and share their experiences and use that skill of reflection when it comes to decision making. So thank you, Fairfield Cares.
Well, thank you. That's what a coalition is all about, is forming those partnerships. And thanks to everyone for the work on the advocacy policy and process. We will, as per Board of Ed tradition, hearing in one meeting, discussing, and then hopefully if we have, as you all think about this and take a look at it on your own and have any other input, please let Kathy know or myself know, and we can bring that forward as we hopefully adopt next month. And speaking of next month and reviewing, the next item on our agenda is our recommended bylaws changes, and I'm going to turn it over to Phil for that.
Mary Frances, this is the most exciting part of this meeting, the bylaws. Kathy sent out a memo together with a copy of the bylaws as they're being edited. This again will be an item on the May agenda. I'm going to only highlight a few things that are in the memo because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The essential changes, other than cleaning them up, is in Article 4, the term limit has been eliminated so that people can continue to serve as many terms as they're willing to. We've added the description of a coalition coordinator. We've put in the bylaws what has always been understood, that the chair may appoint somebody to the leadership team who has a perspective that is important to hear as an advisor. We've added a standing committee of a data standing committee. We've added a statement about the advocacy that we just talked about, and that is a placeholder based on the current draft statement. And if there are any changes to that draft statement, well, then the bylaws will be changed automatically. My assumption is that first, at the business meeting in May, we will act on the bylaws policy, and then we will approve the bylaws. after that. Then there are 4 new articles, which are fairly standard to have in not-for-profit bylaws. One regards the financial administration and the leadership team's responsibility for that. That we follow Robert's rules as a second. That we do comply as necessary with the Freedom of Information Act. And 2, that there's a kind of a standard conflict of interest. And as I think everybody knows, conflict of interest is somewhat voluntary because it is up to you to recuse yourself if you think that we're about to vote on something that you or your agency has a personal conflict with, and that you ought to just step back from the vote. There are 2 open questions that you'll see when you go through the bylaws document as to wording. One is at the very end about conflict of interest, in case there's any clarification of that language that is needed. And so that's under discussion at the moment. And under the financial administration, whether the sentence there needs to be clarified as to our responsibility to work with the fiduciary groups that we have, the town of Fairfield, Positive Directions, etc. So that language will be cleaned up and be part of the official recommendation that comes in May. Any questions? I can just feel the excitement in the air.
For those who'd like to take a look on the shared drive, I put a link to the documents in there, so you can pull it up there as well, especially if you got that email yesterday.
So Riney, put that in the draft, put that in the chat. The draft is there. So if folks would like to, yes, take a look. So I don't see any hands.
So I'll only make one final comment. When you're doing draft documents like that, it does get confusing when you have lines crossed out and other lines in different colors or bold and italics and all the rest, which is intended to say, this is what was, this is what is proposed. Once the board, the coalition acts, then I will work with Riney to clean the document up and get a final version that doesn't have all of those markings in there. And of course, then that final version will be sent to the coalition after the May meeting is voted.
Phil, I want to thank you as our resource manager for helping to lead this effort and with the group who has been involved in this. It's been an ongoing conversation with a lot of good input, and I think there are some good and important changes that we have to that. So I appreciate that. Again, folks, if you have feedback on the bylaws, please reach out to Phil. You can also to myself or to Kathy, but Phil's the point person on this, so please get in touch with him. Again, many thanks, Phil, for this. I'm going to move us on next to our DFC grant proposal update. DFC is Drug Free Communities, a federal grant that we are seeking to allow us to sustain the organization with funds that will help us to do this work as we have been for the past number of years through our state grant, well, through the Positive Directions state grant funding. I'm going to turn it over to Kathy to talk about the process.
Yes, it's I want to recognize the fact that this has been a full team effort. If any of you have ever applied for a federal grant, you know what a cumbersome process it can be. There are lots of different components to it, and so this is truly a team effort with many folks involved in doing different pieces. It is slowly but surely coming together. I would say the bulk of the grant, which is 15 pages, is more than 15 pages right now. So and that's actually not a bad thing. It's always easier to cut down than to add, in my opinion. So we're getting there. The coalition involvement agreements language has been completed, and those are going to be sent out to our sector representatives. One thing that this grant is very particular about is that we do have 12 sectors connected to the coalition. Doesn't mean that everybody attends all meetings, but that they are involved in coalition work and support the mission of the coalition. So we'll be getting those signatures done and that piece taken care of. And, you know, I think we're on track to get the a good first draft of the whole document by May 1st. And then our target date of submission is May 5th. It's not due until May 10th, but you have to allow for technological snags because that is always a possibility. So we want to thank Mike. The Fairfield School District is essentially the legal applicant for this application. And we will know the results in August for a September 1 start. So we will do our best to keep things on track, and we'll let you know once it is all submitted. And I think the intention is at some point to provide you all with a summary of the work plan. Because frankly, even if we don't get funded, some of those activities, it would be nice to continue. So I think it's a good idea to share that with you at some point at any event. So that's where we are.
Comments or questions? Again, as long as we're doing Zoom, I'm going to continue to encourage using the raise hand function, which I know may seem a little odd for us as a group, but makes it a little easier. Well, I just want to again thank you, Kathy, and again, like you said, the team. The effort's been tremendous, and I'm knocking on wood, but I feel hopeful, and I appreciate. I will say, Mr. Cummings, you and I have a couple conversations, perhaps maybe today, or if not early tomorrow, we can follow up on those. And I appreciate just the ongoing work people are doing on this. It's a major effort, major effort. So thank you, Kathy. So next on our agenda is a presentation on something that I'm not even sure how to pronounce, but I know is actually, as I wear my dual hats, and did we just lose Mary Frances? I think we might have. So we may come back to it, but I will just note that it's appeared in my inbox as a state rep as well. So it's something that we often have here. We learn first about some of the emerging issues that are coming our way. Mary Frances, are you still here with us? I see that you may be by phone.
She might have started to
Yep.
her screen or something and then accidentally.
Yep, it looks like she dropped off. So what we'll do is we'll go on to agenda item number 8 and come back once she's back here with us. So agenda item number 8 is number 9 is committee and grant updates. And so if we could, Wendy, if I may put you on the spot just to touch base briefly about our LPC, our Local Prevention Council grant through the state.
Yep, no problem. There's not a lot to report. As I mentioned before, the postcard effort is complete. We did get, we did see on the that we moved the dial on in the right direction on so far on getting awareness raised of what exactly vaping is. So that's good. I mean, Emily had shared some preliminary numbers. it did suggest that there may have been, some positive effect of that effort. Other than that, we discussed and decided that money that was left over that was not currently planned to be used for additional teaching or training or anything was going to be put towards Emily for evaluation efforts related to vaping and other things, but that's it. I think mostly quiet on the LPC front, and Lori's efforts at the schools with the educational health curriculum, drug education programs have taken place. And so that's about it, right, Lori? Am I missing anything?
I see thumbs up. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wendy. Rainey, would you be willing to touch base for just a moment about SOR?
I see Francis is back, so we can go back to her topic.
Well, Rainey, why don't you just do that update if you would, and then we'll go back to her.
All right, so the SOR grant, we have actually one part of our agenda, the showing of the If They Had Known documentary is part of our SOR grant initiative. We are sharing this with Norwalk and Westport, and we each pitched in for this 1-year license that everybody will be able to use. So we'll do a preview after this meeting. Then the SOR grant paid for a couple of lawn signs that will be up on the Tree of Hope on the Sherman Greens next month for Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's an exciting piece. We're working on feather banners that will be available. Also, they will be designed so we can share them among the 3 coalitions. And if we have larger events or 2 schools that each have open house and we want to use them at 2 schools, we can kind of share each other's materials and big event things there. And so there's a lot of stuff going on the SRR grant, and we had 4 people participating in QPR training and can now deliver QPR gatekeeper trainings, which is fantastic. So I'm very happy to report that. And in terms of other grant update, we have a $750 communities talk stipend again, which we can put towards planning a event, not towards giveaways or anything like that, but honoraria or rental or any kind of equipment, even software we can use that for. So I have to exactly figure out how we're going to use it, but that check has arrived as well. So thank you.
Rainey, thank you so much for that work. I know there's Drug Take Back Day this weekend, which is coming up as well. So just the commercial announcement with that. But as Rainey said, Mary Frances has returned. Can you hear us, Mary Frances?
I can. I'm so sorry. The Wi-Fi just completely went out. It's right in the middle of this meeting.
We are all very sympathetic to that. Please don't apologize. But as I said before, today we have the opportunity to hear from you. And I was saying, I'm not even positive how it's pronounced. Is it Kratom?
Kratom. It's actually Kratom.
Yeah, Kratom. There we go. We're all going to learn a little bit more, and we're going to turn it over to you, Mary Frances.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And again, as I said before, I've lived in this town for years, went to college here, love this town. I'm part of the Board of Health. And when this really has come to surface, really since this past year, I've noticed it with my patients in the clinic. And I reached out to Sands and I was just like, okay, tell me how to get to Fairfield Cares. I need to talk about it. So I really thank you for the opportunity. I really do like to speak to my children. I have 2 teenagers in town, obviously in town, 2 teenagers, and I do speak very openly to them, probably through my years of working in clinics. I work right now at a methadone clinic, New Era. I'm in actually the New Haven area, but there is a Bridgeport office too. So we're pretty similar, I think, with the Bridgeport area and the New Haven area. And this drug that's over the counter has really been scary and has been used and overused a lot by my patients. So I reached out to our pediatrician. I'm trying to reach out as much as possible to educate people on this over the counter. So just a little bit of a background. Kratom comes from a tropical tree that's native to Southeast Asia. And the leaves itself contain a psychoactive, mind-altering, and it feels like you're on an opioid. And
Mary
that's what.
Frances, excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you. We do have your PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
Ryan, do you have those, or I can share my
Do you want to share your screen, or would you like me to share your presentation on?
Oh, it doesn't matter. If you guys have them, then that's fine. It doesn't matter. You can look along. Yeah. I'm afraid, honestly, to be honest with you, I'm afraid to share my screen. I'm so afraid the Wi-Fi is going to go out again. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, that's great. If you
Oh,
have.
good, thank you. Honestly, I just did little informational stuff. I wasn't sure if how much I was going to be able to present, but it just kind of gives you some key points about it. As I was saying, I think I'm on the second slide. Thank you so much. I swear it's the brick house that I live in. There's something about the Wi-Fi. It doesn't want to like go through all the walls. So I was saying, it's known in the community as an herbal speedball. So, people started using it for sleep, for pain. If they were trying to come down from their methadone, they'd still get that little bit of an opioid high that they were craving. It gives you increased energy. It's also an aphrodisiac. Alcoholics have used it with withdrawal. But here's the problem. All this stuff is like word on the street, articles you may find, like a Wikipedia page, but none of this, because it's an over-the-counter, FDA has not studied it. There's no research in it. So it's being used, unfortunately, and improperly used out there on the streets. You either take it in, it's a fresh leaf. So a lot of my patients are either drying the leaf and making a tea out of it, or they grind it into a powder, and you can get this from the internet. And then if you go on Amazon, you could get little like capsules. So if you kind of grind it up and put it in a capsule, and that's where it gets scary. When you start selling it for like a cheaper price or a different price on the street, or actually on the other slide too, if you want to switch to that one, that's when they start to add stuff. Because as you know, so many things are laced that are out on the street. And that's where it gets even more dangerous. But people become very addicted to this because it's hitting the same parts of your brain that an opioid would. There are some side effects that are known as, it's a little more sensitive to sunburn, but the nausea, itching, sweating, everything that you feel when you're coming down from an opioid, you get the same kind of feeling if you try and stop this. People were, again, needing it, or people were using it when they're coming down from methadone or even Suboxone. But now we're finding, because they're overusing it so much for that opioid high, that we've actually had to increase their methadone. And I'm having trouble actually regulating their Suboxone because it has altered their mind so much. And some people, like I said, if you're addicted to this, to come off of it, we've had to start them on Suboxone, and I've had a really tough time stabilizing their mood and their Suboxone dose because of this kratom. As you're withdrawing from it. And the withdrawing, kind of getting into that, it's the same thing as withdrawing from methadone or Suboxone. The muscle aches, the pain, the actual physical pain that people feel, insomnia, they get irritable, aggressive, emotional changes like the up and down of your mood. Jerky movements, I actually haven't seen too much, but as I said before, like the hostility, the irritability, and then, as I mentioned before, either needing the increased methadone or Suboxone dose, which is very scary because, as you know, we try and keep everyone on the lowest doses possible, but, it gets very frustrating with this. And my fear, and, with other individuals too that I work with, it's yet another gateway drug because it's over the counter. You can get it at smoke shops, gas stations, the internet. Again, because it's not an illegal substance, it's so easy to get. So what, and as I said before too, and this is in the slide, people, there's no known overdoses from it, but no one's actually testing it because it's not, well known that much. Quest, Cordant, like the kind of more local labs that we use for drug testing, they're not testing for it. So even though we haven't shown that there's an overdose for it, I can't necessarily say it hasn't added to an overdose. And it could be so easily laced with other substances. But what scares me about educating people on this, if, you know, you educate some kids on it, and this is what I was talking to my pediatrician a little bit about, I don't want to open it up to more kids who may not know about it. So there's, you know, a dual-edged sword with talking, you know, educating kids on it, because more people might find out about it. So it's kind of hard, but it is very, very scary. And like I said, I appreciate you letting me talk to you about it, because it's definitely out there, and more out there than I think we really realize in this community. Has anyone ever heard of it or have questions on it?
Mary Frances, thank you. Are there questions from members?
Kathy?
The coalition? Kathy?
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mary Frances, for this very informative presentation. Just curious, so what form is it in, say at gas stations, or I mean, is it in the leaf form? Is it already ground?
Usually it's the powder form that they find the most, but you can find it in leaf form too. Some people take it at night as a tea to help them sleep. It's a little bit cheaper than like CBD oil, or, you know, marijuana, whether it's legalized or not.
And does it have a commercial name, or is it?
No, just straight kratom, from what my patients are telling me, what I've heard.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Wow. Have you
Yeah.
seen it in Fairfield?
Say that again, huh?
Have you seen it in Fairfield?
No, but I honestly, I haven't hit some of the gas stations that I know are a little bit, so we say, lenient on selling, you know, tobacco and other products to kids. I kind of know which ones they are. I should hit them up and see. But I'm assuming the smoke shop has it. But like I said, it's so easy on the internet. You know, you can just get anything, and because it's not regulated in any way, you don't have to be 18. You don't have to be a certain age to order it.
Thank you, Mary Frances. Thank you, Kathy, for those questions. Pam?
No, I was just wondering if you, I'm not sure, is your clinic in Bridgeport, or where is the clinic that you?
So I'm at New Era. I am in the New Haven clinic, but
Okay.
we do have a Bridgeport clinic. So
Okay.
when we see things like this, kind of like a new trend,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of it is what's being laced with what, we do
Yeah.
talk a lot, and they are seeing it in the Bridgeport area too. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because
Yeah.
it's so close to home.
Yeah, and my other question was, have you seen it with the young adult or teens? I don't know whether you serve young adults in your clinic or not, but do you see that happening?
Yes.
With them?
Yes, young adults. We do not have teens in the clinic. We
Right.
don't, they're over 18, but you know, I
Where
see
is
it a lot.
my hand raised?
Oh, I see it a lot with, you know, my teenage children. A lot of times they get access to stuff from older siblings.
Right.
You know,
and
and
that's what I was getting
Yeah.
at as well, as I think that I mean, I have heard of it. Just because one of my jobs is I do work with young adults and adults in a treatment program. But I was just curious as to what you're seeing in terms of trends of young people and older teenagers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Pam.
you.
Tim, I see you actually raising your hand. I know it's you.
Yeah, I couldn't find the little raise hand. So actually with working with the Parent Connections, the Fairfield Parent Connection, Newtown Parent Connection, some of their kids actually mix it in teas, and they've been picking it up in the smoke shops. If you drive straight up 25, there's a smoke shop that just opened on 25 in Monroe that advertises in big bright red neon lights that goes right across the window. We carry kratom. So yes, very highly addicting. This one son that the mother talks about, mixes it every morning with his tea, mixes it at night. Yeah, so it has all the opiate effects.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just gonna say, I agree with you. Thank you. It's very scary, I think, because it's so unknown. And again, there's no regulation on it at all. And it does have such an addictive property to it.
Thank you. Other questions from members? I'll also say hello and welcome to Jennifer Jacobson. It's really nice to see you here.
Hi, everyone. Just I was wondering, Kathy, if we could get a copy of just those brief slides, if possible. Thank you. I think that would be helpful. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Mary Frances, thank you for connecting with Kathy and the coalition and for taking the time to be here with us. I know the Wi-Fi piece can be frustrating, but you were successful in conveying the information nonetheless. So we appreciate you being here and being a resource to help educate all of us in the community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Great. We'll go back to our committee and grant updates. So we had LPC and SOR, and I will committee-wise, I believe I'll turn it over for a moment to Phil. Are there any other resource committee updates that you have? And then I'll go to Rainey.
Yeah, only that the bylaws will be acted on. I am part of Kathy's team that's working on the DFC grant. Lori is working on the nominating process for our annual business meeting. And I'll say that I haven't talked to her recently, but Steve and others who are active in the PTA, recruiting somebody who has, pardon the expression, Steve, a long enough tenure with the PTA that their kids are like in elementary or middle school. And so therefore, that will be sticking around for a while. It would be very important to recruit somebody who can help us develop a better engagement with the individual PTAs in the various schools. So I'd ask Steve and others of you who are perhaps active in the PTA to either volunteer for that kind of a role or to recruit somebody that Fairfield Cares can rely on to be our standard bearer with the PTA movement. That's an important part of the nominating process.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil. And I think I'll maybe put it a little differently. A lot of us who have been involved with Fairfield Cares who have children in the public schools, their kids have either graduated and gone or are about to. So we definitely need that next generation, so to speak. So I'll go to Rainey, then Kathy. Unless Kathy, you had something that was directly related to what Phil was saying. Did you want to?
No, but it's another grant.
Okay. Well, you know what? So why don't we're doing committee and grant updates. We'll go. So we'll do Rainey and then go to you.
All right. In terms of programming updates, yes, there's Drug Take Back Day this Saturday. So everybody clear out your unused medications and drop them off at the police station. And then we have a lot of stuff going on. You see that cute little logo up on my virtual background screen. That is the new National Prevention Week starfish from Connecticut that the Connecticut subgroup will be introducing. And during National Prevention Week, there will be a naming contest. So there's going to be lots more coming. There's also from the New England region, they just produced what they call a graphic medicine. If you've never heard that term, go to our website and look up the news item that talks about the graphic medicine, which is a graphic novel. Our young people all know them and use them. And it deals specifically with vaping. That was recently launched, and we in Fairfield will be lucky enough to receive 63 paper copies. But anybody can order a paper copy or download a PDF, and you can find all that on our website. So I can actually put the link to that in the chat as well. And then there's going to be lots of stuff going on in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And National Prevention Week is in May, so just keep going on our website, on our social media, because there's going to be so much going on, and won't take everybody's time to rattle down all those pieces. So, but it's exciting, lots of good stuff.
Arnie, we're very fortunate to have you leading programming, and the reason that we're getting those copies is because you took the time to attend an event and request those for us. So thank you so much, and I know you've already been in touch with Lori Mediati, so thank you. Kathy.
Yeah, so we still have the CSC grant until the end of June. This has been our underage drinking grant, and April is Alcohol Awareness Month. So we are doing a couple of activities related to that. Very soon, hopefully this week, there will be a postcard being sent out to parents of high schoolers reminding everyone of the Connecticut social host laws. And that is in actually direct response from feedback that we got from our parent focus groups who wanted more information about the social host laws, wanted to be reminded of what those social host laws are. So that is what this postcard will be doing. So that'll go out this week. And then next week, we are conducting our e-tips training, and that's training to alcohol retailers, servers, to ensure that they are aware of the laws pertaining to not serving to minors and how to check for IDs and whatnot. In the past, it's been a face-to-face training, but because of the COVID virus, we are doing this virtual. We have had this wonderful partnership and with Jen Jacobson's organization T-Task, which has provided free registration for employees of alcohol retailers to participate. Otherwise, they'd be paying $40 to do this online training. So that'll be happening next week. We have 10 employees signed up, which is great. We sent out letters to 65 retail establishments in partnership with the Fairfield Police Department and Positive Directions, and hoping for more, but 10 is good. And I want you all to know that 8 of those 10 are coming from the Chelsea restaurant. So please, next time you go to the Chelsea, thank them for sending so many of their employees to this tips training. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is our youth committee continues to be very active. They're working on a radio PSA around alcohol targeted to parents, and they've been in touch with Weeby 108 as the radio station that they want to broadcast this public service announcement. They're also in the midst of organizing a wellness fair for May. So as part of May Mental Health Awareness Month, that's going to be held after school on May 12th. And their theme is Calm for the Community. And there'll be 5 or 6 stations for middle school and upper elementary students and parents to go through to provide healthy ways of dealing with stress and anxiety. So everybody will be masked, we'll be paying attention to social distancing, but it's also going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully the weather will be nice since we'll be on the green and we'll have resources. It'll be nice to have a resource table again instead of having to do everything virtually. So just wanted to mention those couple of things with regard to the grant. Wonderful. Kathy, can you repeat the date again for that last event? And I see your hand, Jen. I'll come to you next. For the May 12th is the wellness fair after school. And then next Wednesday, April 28th, since I've got the floor, we have a webinar with our partners at the Center for Family Justice in Bridgeport about healthy relationships. This is a webinar for health educators and parents, and with the hope that the information gleaned from this webinar will be taken back to classrooms and for parents to have discussions with their teens. And it's also related to Alcohol Awareness Month, and that when alcohol is present, there's more at risk in terms of those relationships. So wanted to mention that. I think that's about it. Riney, did you want to say anything more about that particular webinar real quick?
You know what, Riney put that in the chat. Jen, I'll turn it to you, Riney. Jen also wanted to jump in. So go ahead, Riney. Do you want to add anything before I go to Jen? Thanks for your patience, Jen.
All I was going to say is please do copy all those links from the chat. There's lots of events happening. And also tonight, Fairfield Ward High School PTA is having a talk from Liz Jorgensen from Inside Counseling about growth after trauma. That's open to everybody in the community. And so if you go to the Fairfield Ward High School PTA.org website, you see the Zoom link for that one tonight.
Thank you, Riney. I know we've kind of moved into announcements, but I want to make sure any other committee and grant updates. I'm going to go to Jen because I think she had a question or comment, and then we'll make sure we've covered that before we go to general announcements.
Thanks, Kristen. I just had a quick question for Kathy. Do you have a time on that wellness fair? I know you said it was after school, but is there a specific time frame for that?
Yeah, I think we'll be there at 2:30 and then it'll go until about 4:35.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good clarifying question. I had the date, you have the time. It's a good team effort. And Kathy, thank you so much for all those updates. There are a lot of good stuff as you are working to try and get the next grant application going. You're still doing the work on our current grant through DEMIS with the state. So again, Positive Directions grant. And speaking of Positive Directions, Margaret Watt, thanks for joining us as well. So we're going to move on to item 10, which is announcements from coalition members. I will point out that Margaret did add in the chat the QPR suicide prevention training, which is tomorrow from 4:30 to 6, and that there's still room in there. And Margaret, we're trying to use the raise hand function just to help us. I know it's harder on Zoom sometimes, and again, for that speaker view, as I remind my committee members. Margaret, I'll turn it to you, and then if there are others who have announcements, if you can raise your hand, that'd be great.
I don't really have any announcements, just that I think we really want to push the message that everyone should be QPR trained, just like everyone should be CPR trained. And it's more important than ever right now with the huge rise in suicidal ideation. Also, Victoria O'Neill from the Hub, who's on here, part of what we're trying to do regionally is get all our EMTs trained in suicide prevention and awareness. And so if you have contacts in your EMS departments, can encourage them to attend some of these trainings.
Thank you. That's a great announcement and a great reminder for all of us, and I appreciate you doing that. Victoria.
Yeah, so I just have a few announcements just for the Hub. So we're still doing our Narcan trainings. They're still on the first and third Wednesday of every month from 3 o'clock to around 4 o'clock. And upon the completion of the training, you do get a Narcan kit. So like I said, it's open to the public. You get a free kit. It's pretty informative. So just to kind of push that a little bit. There's also a lunch and learn with Main Street Pharmacy, which is located in Bridgeport, and that will be next Wednesday, the 28th, from 10:30 to 11:30. The Hub is doing focus groups for the priority report, and it just aims to kind of get a description of substance use, problem gambling, and mental health in our region. And those dates are the 22nd, the 26th, and the 29th. Then sorry, I know there's kind of a lot of dates and times. Drug Take Back Day is Saturday, April 29th. Is that right? So we're really trying to emphasize this. And I know the doTERRA drug deactivation bags are if you go to their website and you just give some information, they'll mail you a free one. So that's really great. And we're trying to kind of raise awareness about that campaign as well. And then, yeah, just what Margaret was just talking about with the QPR trainings. I don't know if everyone knows, they're just basically brief, hour and a half suicide gatekeeping trainings. And we're really saying, if you're aware of any EMS who would be interested, just let me know. I just think it's really important, specifically for EMS, because they're just the first responders in the majority of these kind of crisis and psychiatric calls. So yeah, those are kind of my updates. That's it.
Victoria, thank you very much for that. The EMS training is also from some state legislation too. I want to ask you, Victoria, about the focus groups for the priority report, just for folks to give a little bit of perspective or overview of that. Those help to direct DEMIS, the state agency. And as we experienced, for example, with the LPC grant, the agency decided to have the funds go towards vaping and tobacco prevention. I think the more we're able to give input into that, the better it is. So if people are able to participate, what are the times for those? Are there different times on the?
Yeah, I can put it in the chat. There's also just like a link, which is basically like a compilation of the questions we would go over in the focus group meetings. So if you can't attend the dates or times, you can just basically fill out that. It's like a Google poll, which is basically the same thing. So I'll put the dates and times in the chat.
Okay, that would be absolutely wonderful. Other announcements, Tim.
So just going off the Center for Family Justice and Healthy Relationships, we did walk a mile in their shoes yesterday, and we're doing it a little bit more today. We had an amazing turnout here at the school. We walked around the building. I actually did wear my shoes. Those. So, and we're putting a video together to send for the Center for Family Justice. But the teachers and students, it was an amazing day yesterday walking. We're also having a wellness day here at the school next Friday. A couple of teachers got together and are putting together, we got amazing stuff happening for the students and teachers for Mental Health Day and their Wellness Day. So that's just an update from here.
Tim, I want to say thank you for highlighting Walk a Mile in her shoes. There is a watch event. It's not too late to join that effort this month, and you can join a team or you can sign up on your own to do that, to support the efforts of the Center for Family Justice, which Tim and Steph in the past have done an amazing job helping connect our young people to the resources around teen dating violence, sexual assault prevention, and domestic violence. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Other announcements? I think this might be the quietest our group has been in months. But I will share one other thing that I wanted to share and announce. Carrie, it's really nice to have you here with us, and just wanted to highlight the fact that the post-vention group that through the hub training last summer has met with Julie DeMarco from our Human Services. Ryan's been incredible as usual about gathering resources, and Carrie is going to help house that effort and help to lead us as we as a community develop a framework for post-vention. And as Margaret said, suicidal ideation certainly has been increasing, and there's plenty of concern that as we reemerge from the pandemic, that we may continue to see an increase in real struggles. I'll just add, an economic statistic that we don't often talk about here, but unemployment spiked to unspeakable and all-time highs a year ago. And I sat here in this room and talked with and emailed with and heard from and Zoomed with so many families. And in the past number of weeks, we've heard about the fact that those numbers are better than we thought, and improving, and the trend is absolutely a good thing. However, numbers are still at all-time highs, and the struggles continue to remain real for our families, and we know that where parents are impacts where children are as well. So it just makes me incredibly grateful for all of you being willing to be here with us to help support our young people and families, to help our community to be healthy and safe and strong. And it's really, really critical, the work that you're doing. So if there are no other announcements, Tim, did you have another?
Yeah, one last quick thing. If you go on the center, if you want to join the team from Ludlow, we started the team. It's called FLHS Together. So that is our team. You can donate and join our team on the Center for Family Justice.
Wonderful.
I put the link in the chat, and I also wanted to mention that we had an opportunity on Tuesday, the 20th, that's yesterday, seems like a lifetime ago, to participate in a Twitter chat run by a teenage young woman who lost her dad last year or several years ago. And her Twitter handle is Teenage Grief Sucks. And it was an amazing Twitter chat. We were invited to that one, and so we were given questions ahead of time. So, you know, trying to come up with like 280 character good answers is, you know, a little easier when you know the questions ahead of time. So we were very grateful to participate. And if you look for hashtag Teen Grief Chat, you will probably get all the responses, all the questions, and can take a look at the resources that were shared there.
Ryan, thank you for that. The we so often in Fairfield Cares is Ryan Noor. So we're grateful for you helping to really spread the word on social media. It's an important tool for our young people. If there are no other announcements, questions, or comments, then I would take a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? I see Wendy Bentavegna raising her hand and Phil seconding.
There's a little bit of discussion before, even after we adjourn. Please stay on because we will be showing If They Had Known. So if you have time, stay on. The movie is 35 minutes.
All right. Thank you all for being here with us today.